Let them do their damn job. Let them go and kill the enemy.
The opposite of Donald Trump is an Asian man who likes math.
Tobias Funke, there is no God.
Malaysia says it won't become a, quote, dumping ground to the world, and that it's returning more than 3,000 tons of non-recyclable plastic waste that the Malaysian government says were illegally sent to its ports. Since China banned the import of plastic waste last year, shipments of trash have been diverted to Southeast Asian countries, including Malaysia, the Philippines, and Indonesia. The Supreme Court upheld part of an Indiana law that requires abortion providers to bury or cremate fetal remains, but avoided issuing a ruling on a more central question in the fight over abortion access: whether the state can ban ending a pregnancy based on a fetus's sex, race, or disability. Texas's acting Secretary of State resigned yesterday after an effort to purge thousands of voters blew up in his face. Earlier this year, David Whitley's office said it had discovered that 95,000 potential non-U.S. citizens were registered, but the allegations were so flimsy that a federal judge blocked the investigation into voter fraud, and Texas ended up settling a lawsuit claiming Whitley was trying to intimidate Latino voters. This laptop was loaded with malware that's responsible for an estimated $95 billion in damage to make it a work of art, and it sold at auction for over $1.3 million. The Persistence of Chaos is a collaboration between a cybersecurity firm and the artist Guo Odong, who says the lucky bidder won't be able to connect the computer to the internet. What could possibly go wrong?
All right, everybody. Really appreciate all the support. We were waiting for Sergeant Derrick Miller to come out of the gates. Everybody's fired up. We got Derrick's mother here. We got his uncle. We got his stepfather, Craig. You know, God bless you all. Continue all support. And on three, Derrick Miller. 1, 2, 3.
Derrick Miller!
Hey, I think it's Derrick.
This might be it.
All right, Renee, don't cry.
I think you're allowed to.
I'm allowed to cry.
Today, Derrick Miller, a former National Guardsman who killed an unarmed Afghan in 2010, is getting out on parole after 9 years in detention.
Oh my God. You look so good. I love you.
Love you too.
Bull Gurfein had a big hand in Miller's freedom. The group he runs, United American Patriots, helped raise awareness of Miller's case and covered his legal fees.
What's the next step here? Because obviously he's getting out, and that's very satisfying to you and to his mother, of course.
Absolutely.
But he still has a conviction on the books. Is this the end of the road, or do you hope to see more happen with this case?
So the next step is bringing this to the President of the United States, give him a full pardon, and give him a full shot at life. This is the start. This is not the end. We got a lot more work to do.
Absolutely.
We're fighting every day.
Whatever you guys need.
God bless you, brother.
Gurfein's gotten pretty good at this.
Hey, buddy, how are you?
He's a retired Marine who enlisted at 17 and made it to Lieutenant Colonel, fighting in Afghanistan and both Gulf Wars along the way. In the 1 year since he took over UAP, the group has raised and spent hundreds of thousands of dollars defending service members accused of crimes in war zones and bringing the cases to the attention of lawmakers, with the hopes that they might take them up with President Trump.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, how's it going?
All right, Bull Gurfein with United American Patriots. How are you?
And Trump has responded. In early May, he granted clemency to Michael Behenna, a former soldier who was convicted of murdering an Iraqi prisoner in 2008. Then, last week, Trump suggested he was considering pardoning even more.
We're looking at a lot of different pardons for a lot of different people. Some of these soldiers are people that have fought hard, long. You know, we teach them how to be great fighters, and then when they fight, sometimes they get really treated very unfairly.
Former military officials have been outraged at Trump's actions. Some, like retired General Martin Dempsey, the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs, say granting blanket pardons would destabilize the entire system of military order and justice. Hardy Veer is a former naval defense attorney.
The system is set up to promote good order and discipline. That's why we have a military justice process. So when the president intervenes, it really erodes that good order and discipline. It sends the message that if you're a service member and you do something that breaks the law, don't worry, because back home you just need to persuade someone who has a political ideology that feels like you were wrongly prosecuted, and now your record is going to be cleaned.
Their argument is that this could actually do damage to the integrity of the armed forces, to the military justice system. Are they wrong?
I don't see how it would. In the history of the Uniform Code of Military Justice, we've seen cases overturned because of unlawful command influence. We've seen cases overturned because of prosecutorial misconduct. That's all appropriate, and it's happened time and again.
Derrick Miller's case is a relative slam dunk for Gerfine. Miller admits that he'd threatened to kill the Afghan during an interrogation, but he claims that the shooting itself was self-defense. An eyewitness in Miller's unit disputed that there was a scuffle, but defense attorneys claimed that there were no forensics done on the scene. But Gerfine isn't a lawyer, and he's not running the Innocence Project. He thinks that service members in combat zones should always be given the benefit of the doubt.
We're playing this game in where we're saying, okay, you can do this, but you can't do this. So if somebody's shooting at you, you can return fire, but if they put their weapon down and they walk out of the building and they're not carrying a weapon, you can't. So all of a sudden, you're placing our warfighters who know the difference between the enemy and the good guys, and yet they can't engage. And if they do, they're held accountable to a standard that's really unreasonable.
The idea that service members in war zones deserve wider latitude comes up a lot these days. One high-profile case involves Navy SEAL Eddie Gallagher, who allegedly killed a wounded ISIS captive with a hunting knife in 2017. At fundraisers like this one, his defenders accused the system of being too harsh.
We can't question the special operations community. They have a job to do. Let them do their damn job. Let them go and kill the enemy and leave them alone.
UAP isn't directly involved in the Gallagher case, although it's contributed nearly $80,000 to his defense. But the notion of cutting combat veterans slack can go pretty far. Among the people Gerfine's office is working with is Robert Bales, the former soldier who's serving a life sentence for massacring 16 Afghan civilians, including women and children, in 2012.
Yep, Staff Sergeant Bales.
I guess I'm a little surprised to see that be one of the names on there.
Well, here's the thing. I've talked with Staff Sergeant Bales, and it's one of those cases that it's so horrific to think about, killing 16 individuals, including women and children, that it's sort of quick to just dismiss it.
Gerfine thinks Bales was effectively coerced into taking a plea, and that his mental distress and the possible impact of an anti-malaria medication he was prescribed should have been considered. Military prosecutors say that Bales was drunk and under the influence of sleeping pills and anabolic steroids.
Do you sort of on a more broader level feel like these kind of prosecutions shouldn't happen?
There are certainly times where we need to hold people accountable, no question about it. Our whole perspective is if you hold people accountable, you can't violate their individual rights. So we're not saying, hey, let Staff Sergeant Bales go necessarily. We're saying, let's just look at what happened here, and was his case handled appropriately?
You're not proposing putting a pardon papers for Bales in front of the president, are you?
These are type of things where if you have to look at all of this and figure out how that's handled best, right now.
Would you consider that a good thing if the president decided to pardon Bales or grant him clemency?
If we can show that there was prosecutorial misconduct, and if you could show that he did not have his rights properly adjudicated and that he should have had a different trial in that his mens rea was taken into account, then certainly that should be something that should be considered.
The Trump administration's expansive approach to military pardons has opened the door for more service members to seek clemency. The first thing Derrick Miller did after getting out last week was stop at a notary to fill out paperwork for a presidential pardon.
Some people are going to say, you shouldn't deserve to get out. You did something over there that...
That's their right to feel that way, and I completely understand. I mean, it is hard for a civilian to understand what people in combat go through. You can watch all the TV shows and all the movies you want to, but when people are actually shooting at you and trying to blow you up and kill your friends, it's a whole different environment. It's brutal. Yeah. It's disgusting. It's ugly. And sometimes the lines get blurred. You do the best you can in bad situations.
I think there are a lot of people who feel like the president should just stay out of this. He shouldn't be intervening in these cases.
He's the commander-in-chief. He can do exactly what he wants. The military is here to do as he commands. So this is well within his realm.
And you hope he will?
I hope he will.
Today marked the first real test of whether Big Pharma can be held liable for the opioid crisis. The drugmaker Johnson Johnson appeared in court for the first time to defend itself against an Oklahoma lawsuit that accuses it of fueling the opioid epidemic, a claim Johnson Johnson denies.
The supply went up, but something else happened. People started dying. Why? Because when you oversupply opioids, people die.
The state says the company was the kingpin of a grand conspiracy to hook people on prescription painkillers by duping doctors about the drug's benefits while downplaying the risk of addiction. And it's going after the company, using a relatively unproven legal strategy. It claims the drug maker's deceptive marketing violated the state's public nuisance law. State and local governments have filed more than 1,500 lawsuits against opioid makers and distributors, and most of them have been consolidated into one big federal court lawsuit that will go to trial in October. But Oklahoma, which at the height of the epidemic had the 6th highest rate of opioid prescriptions in the country, has pushed ahead on its own.
How did this happen? At the end of the day, Your Honor, I have a short, one-word answer: greed.
But winning isn't guaranteed. Public nuisance laws have typically been used to stop things like someone blocking a public road, or running a crack house or brothel. In other words, they're about stopping people or companies from intruding onto shared public space. So why go that route with Johnson Johnson? Well, the laws are written pretty broadly. Because of that, public interest lawyers have used them since the 1970s to rein in corporate bad behavior, like lead paint manufacturers hiding the risks of their product, and fossil fuel companies exacerbating climate change. Most famously, lawyers sued cigarette makers for lying about the risks of smoking. These lawsuits mostly failed, but a couple of them succeeded. And it was a public nuisance argument that forced Big Tobacco to agree to pay $206 billion to settle the cases against them.
It was on this day that the attorneys general of more than 40 states said in Washington that they had finally beaten the tobacco industry into submission.
Now, the case in Oklahoma isn't that clear-cut. Cigarettes have no public health benefits, but opioids do. They're FDA approved and prescribed by doctors. And the DEA monitors and controls all opioid sales, something Johnson Johnson is likely to point out during its defense.
The immense regulation that the FDA and the DEA have over opioid medications is a major benefit to these companies and these litigation practices. And it is absolutely to the benefit of companies like Johnson & Johnson, because they can say, like, you guys knew this was going on this whole time and did nothing.
Still, the trial itself could serve a purpose by shining a light on things like Johnson & Johnson's marketing materials and how it worked with doctors to help promote the use of painkillers. Two other drug makers, OxyContin maker Purdue and generic drug maker Teva, settled with the state for more than $350 million before documents could be unsealed. Both denied any wrongdoing.
I am very surprised Johnson & Johnson hasn't settled, because when Purdue Pharma settles and when Teva settles, you know, they're able to really keep a lot of their documentation out of the public view. Johnson & Johnson is known as a family-friendly company, and this is a big risk for them.
And if the state does manage to win, it'll set a major precedent for all those other opioid lawsuits. So it isn't just Oklahoma and Johnson & Johnson that have a lot at stake in this trial. This could affect pretty much every state and every opioid maker in America.
Thank you, guys. That's what I'm talking about, South Carolina.
Yeah, they love you, man.
I love them too.
Andrew Yang is a tech entrepreneur.
Who are you? Hey, guys, I'm Andrew Yang. I'm running for president.
And yet another long-shot Democratic candidate for president.
I'm running for president because we seem to be misunderstanding how Donald Trump won the White House in 2016.
Who's we?
Everyone, apparently.
Hello, Charleston! Holy cow!
If you turn on cable news, you would think he's our president because of some combination of Russia, Facebook, the FBI. But if you look at the numbers, the reason he won is that we'd automated away 4 million manufacturing jobs in all the swing states he needed to win and did win. What brought Donald Trump into power is just going to accelerate as artificial intelligence leaves the lab and starts hitting companies for real. This is the greatest economic transformation in the history of the country. What experts are calling the fourth industrial revolution.
Yang's website boasts positions on over 100 issues, including things that might surprise you, like making taxes fun and free marriage counseling for all. But like Jay Inslee, who's running on climate change, or Eric Swalwell, who's running on gun control, Yang is staking his campaign on one big idea.
If you're here today, you've heard something like this. There's an Asian man running for president who wants to give everyone $1,000 a month. Universal basic income is a policy where every citizen in a country gets a certain amount of money to meet his or her basic needs, no questions asked. So in my plan, the freedom dividend, every American adult would receive $1,000 a month starting at age 18.
Yang's pitch for UBI has earned him an intense online following.
Hey, thanks for coming to South Carolina.
No problem, man. My pleasure.
I saw you on Joe Rogan.
No problem, man.
So awesome. I'm the conservative, and I'm really.
Well, thanks, man. Yeah, we gotta just solve the problems, right? It's not left or right at this point.
In South Carolina, Yang's trying to turn that online enthusiasm, the so-called Yang Gang, into on-the-ground support.
We have to accelerate to start addressing the realities of the economy of the 21st century, and I am the man for that job because the opposite of Donald Trump is an Asian man who likes math. Thank you very much, South Carolina.
You can spot his supporters in math hats, a call to make America think harder.
A math hat, man.
Yeah. Yang may only be polling at 1%, but the people who like him love him.
I appreciate the fresh ideas. I really do.
Finally, someone actually gets it.
I've never seen a candidate whose policies I like more than yours, man.
Thank you, man.
I'm so looking forward to this, man.
And the Yang Gang's enthusiasm seems to be contagious.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
My husband is a Yang Gang fanatic, and so we're here because of him.
And so after hearing him speak today, what do you think?
I mean, I love what he's saying, especially about giving everybody $1,000 a month. I am a stay-at-home mom, and so because I'm not working, that will really help.
Even the third-ranking House Democrat showed up to one of Yang's events.
Congressman, why are you here today?
I've been talking about this campaign with my daughter.
Are you surprised to see a crowd this big for someone who's never held federal or national office?
I must admit that I really was surprised at the crowd. People are yearning for innovative ideas, and he's got some innovative ideas. And I would not be a bit surprised to see some of the other candidates picking up on some of his innovations. And that's good.
While Yang supporters share enthusiasm for their candidate and UBI, they're all over the political map.
And this campaign is already drawing support from former Trump voters, libertarians, independents, as well as Democrats and progressives.
It's often said that UBI is an idea without an ideology. So to step back, how would you define your bigger economic and political ideology?
I would define my ideology as deeply pragmatic and trying to solve the problem. And so if you accept that we're in the greatest economic transformation, we've already gotten rid of 5 million manufacturing jobs, 4 million due to automation, and 30% of malls and stores are closing, and being a retail clerk's the #1 job in the economy. How do you solve that problem? And so you land on universal basic income quite quickly. I consider myself deeply practical.
Is that a political ideology?
Well, it ought to be.
That cross-ideological support comes with some admirers he's tried to distance himself from.
What does it say to you that you have white nationalists who support your campaign?
I've completely disavowed that support, and to look at me, I don't look much like a white nationalist. But it does, to me, speak to how we're getting away from solving the real problems in this country, and that if you have millions of Americans who feel like they don't have a path forward, then hateful ideologies are likely to get stronger.
Yang still has a long way to go, but he's already qualified for the summer debates and is crossing paths with other candidates.
You look like Trimmer in person. Like, I feel like
Camera does that to us.
Have you thought? I was like, wow, like Bill, like looks like leaned out since.
I'm trying, brother. Yeah, no, we all try. Good luck to you, man.
Thank you, man. I'll see you very soon.
And even if he doesn't end up on the ticket, he hopes UBI, in the form of the freedom dividend, will.
I'm on the record saying that if I don't become president, but whoever wins ends up implementing all of my policies, I'd be the first in line.
All of your policies, there are like 120.
They have to adopt all of them. No, I mean, they have to adopt the big ones. Certainly, the freedom dividend, it seems like the most expedient way is going to be me signing it into law as president myself, but if there's another way to make that happen, I'd be all for it.
This nearly complete extinction of the European Jews was planned and carried out by Adolf Hitler. Hitler also caused the murder of people who were mentally or physically handicapped and others labeled unworthy of life. Books are filled with fun facts and fun knowledge. The internet, however, is like a shitty book. Well, I'm here, my name is David Cross, FYI, to get to the nitty and the gritty of all things me. Come this way, won't you? The sad state of comedy. David Cross's new show is 30% comedy, 50% Trump derangement syndrome, and 20% virtue signaling. The pinnacle of his show is him fantasizing for 20 minutes about how Trump gets pummeled to a bloody pulp during a presidential debate. Then Cross fantasizes that he appears on stage, then pisses and shits all over Trump's corpse. I never had Trump dying. I would argue that those are all not mutually exclusive. It can be 100% of all those things. What kind of stupid show is this? I've never heard of The Loser. That's pretty good. Next. The best thing about me is there are no skeletons. That is, if anything, was taken out of context. It's got what a weird statement to say just on your own. I'd like to call a press conference. I'm glad everybody is here. Thank you. I just wanted to let everybody know that the best thing about me is there are no skeletons. All right, have a nice day. Are there any questions? Got a meme? Tobias Funke, the original Avatar. Tobias Funke, there is no God. How does that work? I wish that Disney cast David Cross as the genie in the new Aladdin instead of Will Smith. If they asked me to audition for it, I might balk at that and go, well, wait a second, guys. I'm not gonna put blue paint all over me. I mean, it was barely worth it for Arrested Development. It's certainly not gonna be worth it for Aladdin. And honestly, if you gave me 1/100th of whatever Will Smith made, that'd be great. Buy a couple houses with that. Oh my gosh, look at that. Wow, well done. And the bald cap fits perfectly in that little kid. Great job. This is the second lowest form of flattery. David Cross totally looks like E.T. That's very accurate. This is right after E.T. shaved, obviously, and E.T. got LASIK. Mr. Show has predicted how stupid our society would become. The stupid thing around the concept of the combining the things is that it was pitched to you as it was going to save time.
Mayo Stirred combines mayonnaise and mustard into one easy serving jar.
It cuts sandwich making time in half.
Royalties for this idea, I would love that, but we don't even get royalties from Mr. Show. Yeah, this is airing on HBO, right? Hey, motherfuckers in the accounting office. At this point, I think you owe us probably in the millions. Vicepedia.